takes 5 hours of prep every fucking time. Welcome back, ghouls and goblins, to a spectacular episode of Buddies on Buddies. I'm your fiendish host, Kenny Lane.
Kenny, if you wanted to do a horror theme, why did we watch a football movie?
I don't know. Well, I figure we're not going to do another episode before Halloween, so fuck it.
I'm Lucas Hill.
And this is the Buddies on Buddies show, a show about two real-life buddies that watch buddy action comedy movies.
I'm Lucas Hill.
And this is the Buddies on Buddies show. All right. Did you see my costume I got? I'm a Ghostbuster this year. Not very original, but hey, it's a costume. My first costume in like 12 years.
Good job. Stans? Which one's that?
Ray. I'm Dan Aykroyd.
Ray. Dan Aykroyd, right. That's cool. Good for you. Yeah. Why would you pick Dan Aykroyd?
Well, I watched the movie again. I try to think which Ghostbuster am I most like, and I think I'm most like Ray. I'd say you're a Venkman, Carrie Spangler, and we don't know any black people. So if we did, we'd have, I gotta be Winston.
Well, I know some black people. I'm not going to say that they're going to be our Ghostbusters.
Look, we need a Winston, and you're the only one I know.
So come on, let's have a good night.
Yeah.
It's funny. I still have these notes from when we first started. Give a brief history of who we are.
No, we don't need to do that anymore.
All right. What movie are we doing this week?
We're going to be doing the 1991 Geffen Pictures release, The Last Boy Scout, starring Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans, directed by Tony Scott.
Great. And before we sink our teeth into that juicy piece of meat of a movie, is there anything else you've seen that you want to talk about that comes to mind? You've been watching a lot of movies. I follow you on Letterboxd, Night Train. Yeah. I'm on Letterboxd with Trade Me Faces. You've been watching a lot of movies lately, I've noticed.
I have been. I save all my kind of horror or like Halloween themed kind of movies all year. And I kind of watch them all in October. Like Christmas, I watch all those in December. So all my horror thingies kind of movies, I'll go here. See, I've been watching ones, boom, 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 boom. Like the new ones I've seen, I saw Killer Cut. You see that? It was on Prime.
Oh, is that the... Sorry, that's like the meta one. It's supposed to be pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's kind of meta, self-aware, but it delivers the goods as far as it's kind of a cross-genre thing. It's like teen, slasher, sci-fi, horror type thing, but it's fun. I thought it works. I saw Renfield, the Nicolas Cage one. He's fun as Dracula, but the movie is really hokey, jokey, and the character of Renfield sucks. And I don't know what it was with horror movies trying to shoehorn in kung fu now. Like they all want to have a kung fu scene. Like why?
Maybe to appeal to the Asian market. I don't know.
I have no idea. But I did finally watch Barbarian, one that you recommended to me last year, and I really like that. Yeah,
it's a cool movie, right?
It's a cool movie. It's one of those where I didn't know where it was going. That's always a really good sign when it's a horror movie. It probably peaks at about the half-hour mark, but I still like the whole thing. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a solid movie. I just like the unconventional narrative where it jumps through time without telling you and keeps you on your toes. A lot of fun.
It is one of those I think it's best just to go into like blind, because that's why I kind of went into it. So yeah, just not know much about it going in.
And it's always good when they have a horror villain that's unique and you could see carrying a franchise. And I think this one did that without going too deep into it.
Right. It could be like the Barbarian. You see like dress up as that thing or whatever. And yeah.
Right. Or at least make like 3 really bad knockoff sequels,
And here come 3 not as good sequels. Did you know it's written and directed by one of the whitest guys you know?
Yeah, what's his name? Curtis something. Yeah.
I used to like that sketch show. It's not bad.
Yeah, not a bad sketch show. Someone who's into sketch comedy, I was always into them. They're still good. Mm-hmm. The lead guy died.
Trevor, died a couple years ago, fell off his balcony, he was drunk.
Yeah. So rest in RIP. That's a sad way to go.
His sketch, Trevor's Gross Out Spectacular, is one of my all-time favorite sketches, though. I will say that, RIP.
Yeah. And also the Curtis bloke, after the success of Barbarians, it did really well. He had one of the hottest packages and they had a bidding war. So his next movie is going to be pretty noticeable because he sold it for a shit ton of money that he's going to do.
Nice. Good for him.
Yeah.
How about you? You seen anything recently?
I want to talk about something I'm gonna see, but the one movie I want to talk about that I did see that really jumps to mind.
Yeah.
Threw it on as a lark. Mary went to bed and I was a few beers in, and I threw on a January Man.
I saw that you reviewed that, but that's kind of I forgot. I remember getting really bad reviews when it came out, like in 1990 or something.
Have you seen it?
No, I never saw it. It's got a crazy cast.
Crazy cast. Harvey Keitel,
Mhm.
uh, Kevin
Alan
Kline
Rickman.
stars, Alan
Yeah.
Rickman, just stacked. What a fucking weird fucking movie.
Trainwreck.
It's a train wreck, like because it wants to be a comedy, but it's like this really serious crime thriller. It's
Except
really
for serial killer, right?
yeah. So like, hey, sit back, relax, and have a good laugh. Here's a woman getting murdered in the opening scene. But then it's very weird. And then like he's like this fireman, and it opens the first time you see him, he runs out of a building
Mhm.
with a baby,
Mhm.
and like, hey, we need you to come back and be a cop because we have a serial killer on the loose. But it's not played for comedy. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
I remember going to see a movie called the January or the November Man with
Mhm.
my family, and I remember there was like they call him the November Man because he blows in like the fall when everything. I can't remember exactly why they called him they explain it. So why do they call January Man the January Man?
Because he does his killings on certain dates, and he uses like the floor and room number of apartment buildings to
Mm,
coordinate with the calendar. Very stupid stuff. Very
yeah, who
stupid
cares?
stuff. Yeah. And if you watch the movie, you're going to care even less. So no spoilers there. But if you're interested in a curiosity of like how the fuck did this fuck up so bad, it's one to watch.
Yeah. Well, what was the movie you said you wanted to see?
Well, the movie I'm going to see tomorrow night, opening night, is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh yeah, 3.5
We're
hours. You ready for
we're,
that?
we're going at 8:15 for 3.5 hours. Mary works in the morning, but we're leaving town soon, so we wanted to get one more big movie in, and we decided we're
Yeah.
just going to pull the trigger on this. So
Yeah, it's a good one, but man, that runtime. Remember last time you went and saw Batman at the theater at like at night? Seemed like it never end, but I don't know.
that movie sucked. Um, it's also kind of nice to get like this big movie people are going to be talking about through award season and all that, like under my
Mhm.
belt. It's like
I've seen it.
I want to see it the night of and not have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah,
Though I am looking forward to it. I love Scorsese naturally. So
I started reading the book like a year or two ago, and was one of those where it was the guy. He's written like the Lost City of Z and some of these nonfiction books, but it really started to like bug me. His style is. I know they're supposed to be a very researched and very backed up, but like it'd be like this character, this guy was walking down the street, and all of a sudden a thought came to him. It's like, how the fuck do you know what the guy was thinking 90 years ago when he's walking down the street? And maybe you start questioning the whole thing. Like, I'm sure a lot of it's legit, but yeah, I was like, wait a minute, a lot.
yeah, some of the historical fiction going through a character's perspective, you have to give some leeway because they have to create
Sure.
endearing characters.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Henry Milshner. God, it's been a while, but he wrote those tombs, like of the states, like the history of
Hmm.
Texas and Alaska and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he like featured characters. Like he was walking around, he goes, "You know what Alaska needs? Let's look
Mhm.
for some oil or some." Somebody's like, it's so stupid. Like,
Yeah.
of course they found oil, but it's like, come on.
Yeah. It takes me out of it when I'm like, no way this actually happened.
All right, that was fun. We had
Hmm.
fun in that little segment, didn't we?
Sure. We always have fun here at Buddies on Buddies. It's all about fun all the time.
Fun all the time. I like that.
Have a good time all the time.
Let's dig into one of the movies we grew up on,
Hmm.
as far as buddy actions, one that compelled us to start a podcast. I would have to say it was one of
Sure.
the, I don't know if I'd put it on Mount Rushmore, certainly not for quality, but for, how fun and stupid the genre can be. Midnight Cowboy.
Midnight Cowboy, Gato Rizzo, and fucking John Voight getting blown. That's one of your favorites. The kid. Um. Well, oh yeah, we're talking about Last Boy Scout, and I'd seen it a lot. I might have seen this movie like 10 times growing up. It was just one of those. It was just the action movies in the '90s. I am a little surprised though that
Well,
it's
hold
not.
on, hold on, hold on.
What,
What's
we
the
can't talk
plot?
about it.
What's the plot?
Oh, the plot of, well, speaking of watching it 10 times, I still don't know what the fuck's going on a lot. I was trying to like, and okay, okay, a football team owner, professional football team, not the NFL, because NFL would never sign off on a movie like this. But he's trying to legalize sports gambling, and this private detective gets assigned to this case that's involved with that, and it just keeps spiraling out of control. And the private detective hooks up with an ex NFL player who's also got beef with this team owner, and they go to take him down. But it gets pretty fucking confusing. How'd you, how'd you follow this?
It's a scene by scene movie. It's not one you need the big picture. It really doesn't fucking
You're
matter.
the bad guys. You're the good guys. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like coming out of a Bond movie and going, that was a cool plot. Hmm? All those
Yeah.
moving pieces, doesn't matter. It's set pieces connected to set pieces. That's all that matters.
Mhm. Yeah. It definitely does feel like a Shane Black movie to me. I mean, they always say, "Oh, the script was changed and that," but it definitely fits his canon, I think.
Though one thing I noticed didn't take place in Christmas. Like how many of his movies don't
It
take
does
place in
take place
Christmas?
on Christmas.
Oh, does it really? I didn't even
Yeah,
catch
I didn't
that.
think there was any Christmas ship. I guess when she draws Satan Claus. He got this in class, and I guess they mentioned Satan Claus a couple of times, but it's one of those like To Live and Die in LA. I think it's technically takes place on Christmas. There's no Christmas lights anywhere. There's nothing. It's just, but I think they might have cut some of that shit out. But yeah, I guess it does technically take place on Christmas.
So, what did you think? Your overview thoughts rewatching this for the 11th time?
Fucking love it. I really like it. I can see why it has developed like a little cult following. Um, But I am a little surprised too how it's never really brought up ever. Like in 90s action movies, they always say like Con Air or Cliffhanger or Air Force One. Like no one brings up Last Boy Scout. Not really even like Bruce Willis fans will bring up like Die Hard with a Vengeance or something, or but no, I think it's a I like it because there's so many guys at the top of their game. It's got so much talent going on. Like Bruce Willis this is after Die Hard 2. He was at the top. Tony Scott, Joel Silver, Shane Black. There's just a lot of big guys at their top in this movie, and I think it's fun. I like that it goes overboard a lot, like Tango and Cash, and I just think it's a really entertaining, fun movie. I have a couple of setbacks with it, but we can get to those a little bit. But what do you think?
Oh, it's very entertaining. There's not a slow moment, even when it's at
No,
its dumbest. Like this is dumb. It's
yeah.
always entertaining, start to
Yeah.
finish. There's not like never pumps the brakes.
No, a lull section, really. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that regard, you could do a lot worse than throwing this on and just having a good time.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very solid movie. I think one of the better movies that we've reviewed on here.
Yeah, I want to say it's a good movie, but
I'd say it's a good movie. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a classic or anything, like up there with The Godfather. But as far as this genre goes, as movies we've watched, I was pretty entertained with it.
it's not boring. And
Yeah,
that's for some of these movies we watch, that's high praise
that's the
indeed.
main problem. Yeah, it's just like when the fuck is this over?
I love the openings credits that they use with the Monday Night Football song or
Football
whatever.
thing.
Yeah.
Friday night's a great night for football.
And it hasn't fucking changed. They're still that bad. Like,
Well, what bothered me, this is actually the first time I've seen this movie in widescreen because I always watched the VHS version of it. So I didn't know that's supposed to be a TV screen. And then when it cuts to because the VHS version, that just filled up the whole frame. So I thought that was like the legitimate opening of this movie. I didn't really get that they were trying to like do a spoof of TV show. So I thought that was even extra nutty. That was like the opening to this movie, like this big slick action movie. But now, yeah, I realize they're riffing on the Monday Night Football promos and Sunday Night Football and shit.
and I meant to look it up, but I did it but is that the Tybo guy that kills himself in the opening?
Billy Blanks, that is
Yeah.
Tybo. Yeah, he was in a few like action movies in the early '90s before he got his big Tybo fame. Yeah, a little that's fun. Pretty. This movie gets kind of dark at times.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty dark opening sequence for a buddy action comedy.
Yeah, I'm sure they sent it in the NFL and go, yeah.
What do you think? And we could talk about it a little later, but as I was watching this, and you're a big, NFL fan and stuff. So the book ends, we're going to spoil this movie, but like, those two NFL game scenes, in today's media and stuff, like how horrified would all of America be if either of those fucking things happened at a football game? I mean, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars was like the fucking, we had to hear about it for like a month. So I mean, imagine some guy running down the field and murdering people. Like that would be fucking front page news for like,
Yeah.
oh, and football probably postponed for the rest of the fucking season or something. Or I don't
No,
know.
no, 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 no.
I think
COVID
so.
didn't even postpone football.
Yeah.
9/11, I think, postponed it by a week. That
Oh, yeah.
machine's gonna move,
It's good to go. But well, anyway, I would just thought like there would be a massive. It wouldn't be like, hey, that was some crazy shit last night, huh? Like,
No, they would have moments of silence all season and shit, and then
mhm.
suicide awareness lines and all that being
Oh
spelled
yeah,
out. Yeah. They would just, play at the heartstrings and then back to football.
back to football after about a week. Well, maybe you're right.
Look, when you're in late stage capitalist, you have to feed the fucking pigs, and we're the pigs. So that trough's got to stay full. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, cool. Speaking of what, Tony, talk about this is the second person today who fell to his death. Tony Scott jumped to his death, committed
Yes.
suicide,
Yeah.
and the Whitest Kid You Know guy fell to his death. So that's fun.
Yeah, did not see that coming from Tony Scott. Didn't seem like the type of. I didn't know him personally, but just things I've heard and read. But I would bet a bunch of other directors would have done that before Tony Scott would have.
I like how I knew he was going to commit suicide. Didn't think that's the way he'd do it.
Well, I wasn't saying that. I thought he'd be more of a strangle yourself to death type of guy.
I don't know. I think judging from all I know from his filmography, I think jumping your death's a pretty fucking exciting way to go.
Maybe I know he was a thrill seeker, but no, I mean that's pretty tragic for that. All this other one guy, some guy kind of somewhat know personally in this movie is Taylor Negron, who also died.
I was going to talk to you about him. He's your boy.
Yeah, he was. We were Facebook friends back like 12 years ago. He actually steals some of my like jokes, not like my memes, but like my pictures that I would take, and he posted on his page and shit. But he was really funny. He actually was a pretty good stand-up and stuff. This is like his one. Usually, it plays like the pizza guy or the like mailman and shit in movies. But this is like a big role for him as the villain, like a big Tony Scott movie back in the day.
And he really steals every scene he's in. Like
Yeah,
he's
he's good.
creepy, he's cool,
Fuck
he's
is Milo.
measured. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him as the villain a lot. Even though, like the other movie, Nice Guys, the other Shane Black movie we watched, I don't think Milo shows up like till like over an hour into the movie.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because this movie lacks a really good villain, but they have the two henchmen. They have your boy, and then that guy that Bruce Willis kills by sending his nose into his brain, which they did a couple times.
Kim Koteas or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
he's in like one. He's a one scene guy, but most people that's the one scene they remember from the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, so the henchmen were great. The main boss or main bad guy was shitty.
I thought he was all right. He could probably play that part in his sleep. He plays the thing, but I thought he was okay. There is that scene towards the end though where he's fleeing the stadium with like the briefcase full of money. Or no, he sees the car and has the briefcase. Mm-hmm. He's like, "God damn, boy, you weren't lying." He just like shoots the window with a gun. And you can see people walking behind him in the parking lot. No one's like, "Holy fuck, did that guy just shoot out that window like 20 feet over from us?"
Because it's LA, probably. I don't know.
Maybe. Just mind your own business. Just keep walking.
No, it's not that. It's just some assholes are shooting something.
Yeah.
Halle Berry, I forgot she was in this.
She's in this, yeah.
She's the one who gets murdered and starts the adventure.
Mm-hmm. I think she mentioned something about this when she worked with Joel Silver again on Gothica. Like, I was in Joel Silver, remember my first movie, and I played a prostitute that gets shot to death.
She's not a prostitute. She's a stripper.
Well, she was a prostitute for that main bad guy. They go over that.
Have you ever dated a stripper? Could you date a stripper?
It's getting a little personal. I did once an ex-stripper. She was a little weird. Well, we walked into one of those dive bars at like 10 a.m. that she liked to frequent. And we walked in as one of those like blacked out. There's like these 6 or 7 like elderly people that are sitting on the stools. I won't say her real name, but they all turned and went like, Jessica, like they were like she was Norm from Cheers. I was like, I think she might be a regular here at this extremely depressing dive bar.
I dated a stripper.
Yeah, how'd that go?
He was too aggressive in the sack.
He was always trying to get me to the dancing bear. No.
I actually wrote that joke down to make sure I said it. That's pretty stupid.
Oh, great.
Yeah, a bunch of homophobic stuff.
The amount of one-liners in this movie, though. Okay, yeah. Bruce Willis, like almost all his dialogue, like the first fucking, I don't know, half of it, there's just one-liners. They should have a counter like in the fucking bottom right. There's like ting 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 ting.
And none of them are funny. And I feel like in a rewrite, they're like, why don't we just say
We're
the
funny,
characters?
how-
I don't think so. And then
Yeah.
I think in a rewrite, they're like, hey, none of these jokes are hitting. Why don't we just say he's not funny earlier in the movie? And that's what they did. He's
Oh,
like,
that's what
yeah.
they did?
Yeah, because I don't know if that's what they did, but he's like, you're not funny. I'm not funny. And then he just makes all these bad jokes throughout the movie.
Well, I mean, some of them are just like not even jokes. Like she's like, there's his wife said she's behind a fiery wreck, and she's like, "Who did this, Joe?" He's Mr. Rogers. Like, how the fuck should I know? Like, I just thought he's just such a like this. He's different than John McClane. This one, he's even a more of a fucking dick, like just not likable dude.
Yeah.
Like really at all.
Would you pick head or gut?
Probably gut. I don't know.
Well, I
Yeah.
give you the option. Of course, you're going to pick gut. Your brain's in your head.
Shoulder or face.
Homophobia, a lot of that.
Well, I picked up on how women are depicted in this movie and treated. Kind of harsh, I'd say, pretty harsh.
When the inciting incident is a stripper getting murdered after her boyfriend's jealous because she's a stripper, you're not starting off on your right foot, you know.
Well, just like most of the women are just treated like total pieces of shit by all the male characters. I mean, you got like a rape scene in a hot tub with like, there's just, and I saw Beverly Hills Cop 2 a couple months ago, another Tony Scott movie. That movie has a surprising amount of like misogyny in it too. So maybe there's something going on with Tony Scott. I don't know, but
Maybe
yeah,
that's why he jumped off a bridge.
man, you keep going, you keep hitting that for like a comedic feed.
Well, it's funny to me.
Why? Jesus.
I like that they're both like the actors are like both 5'8", and he tells them Bruce Willis has a figure. Did you play ball? You could play ball with your figure. He's
yeah.
like, no, he couldn't. He's like 5'8", and so are you. Neither of you could play ball.
None of them can play ball. Like it's like Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday, his ex NFL. Like there's no way Al Pacino. This was a kicker. There's no way he was a fucking football player, a professional one.
Again, I don't know why they have to do this every movie, but the cliche chief of police is like an asshole.
Yeah, he's an ass cover script master. I was like, next time I see you, I'm going to put a bullet in it. And he knows all about him and stuff. But I actually know that guy too, Joe Santos, because he would come in one of the restaurants I worked at. He's kind of regular. And I actually tried to talk to him once about this movie. And he was with his wife, and his wife got really excited that someone I think knew who he was. And he was getting pretty old at that point. He's probably like in his 70s or something. But he was not down to talk about Last Boy Scout at all. Yeah, I think he's just wants to forget about everything. Well, this movie did have a very troubled production. Have you read about that?
No.
Yeah, it's like one of those Tango and Cash ones. They even brought on Tango and Cash, the Stuart Baird, to save this movie too. I guess Tony Scott just shot a shitload of footage, but everybody pretty much involved in this movie, from Damon Wayans to Michael Camion, who did the music, basically says I had a horrible fucking time on that movie. I hated everyone involved, and it's a lot of bad feelings. I guess it comes down. A lot of people said it came down to the fact that you had Tony Scott and Joel Silver and Bruce Willis and Shane Black, who were all peaking at that time. So a lot of alpha males with a lot of very opinionated ones who all wanted their own side. I guess it was just very tense, the whole time.
Shane Black and his precocious kids. That's my least favorite thing about him. Every movie he has a kid who's really fucking smart.
Yeah.
Can't stand it.
Well, this one, the scene between him and when they fight, Bruce Willis and the daughter, that gets uncomfortable. That was like, I don't know if it's supposed to be just a character introduction thing, but I thought the way they were talking to each other was pretty fucking bad and just give a weird feeling.
Like her calling him an asshole, that one?
We'll just be yelling at each other and just, her calling him an asshole and just saying all this shit to him. And she's like, what, like 12 or something? And it just felt a little too like ugly to me or something. I don't know, but
seemed completely normal to me.
We had different families, I guess.
yeah, I think we did. There's a lot of outdated things with this, like against gambling and Bruce Willis being so anti-drug, even though he's drinking like a fish throughout.
Oh yeah.
It's really funny now where there's like gambling commercials on NFL games.
Don't forget to join the app. You can put your credit card right in. Yeah.
Like I thought it was just so stupid. He's like this seasoned cop and he catches Damon Wayans doing drugs in his bathroom and he throws
Get
the
the
drugs
fuck out of
away.
here. Yeah.
Like, what are we in a Full House episode? Relax, you fucking pussy.
Just want to do a little blow before I go back to my house. Whatever.
This is by far, not by far, but pretty close. This might be the punchiest movie I've ever seen. Everybody's
Very punchy.
punching everybody for any
Everybody.
reason.
Well, and that's the bad guys' torture. They always they cut to him like, "Okay, assholes, what do you got to say?" And then they say a fucking one-liner. They get punched in the face, and then like they keep like that happens over and over again. We're like, teach him some manners, and whack, they're like, "Yeah, dude, you hit like a fucking pussy, whack," like,
It got to the point like your punches no longer have an effect. They just keep punching people. It doesn't mean anything.
well, when David Wayans meets up with him in the forest, and he's like, "Was everybody stupid here?" They slam his head on the trunk, and Bruce Willis is like, "Just you, kid." I was like, "Yeah, because you guys have done this like 5 times. Like, the bad guys, you've smarted off to them. They've fucked you up, But anyway.
What do you think about the because this is why I think this isn't a good movie. It's stupid and fun, and I enjoyed it, but it starts to go down off the cliff, and you start realizing you're in a cheesy B movie that's not going to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Distinguished. When he throws the punch at Bruce Willis and he catches it and throws him back. It's the
I fucking love that scene. I thought that was great. I think because Bruce Willis is such a piece of shit. Because at that point, you just think this guy is such a fucking loser douchebag that done anything. So yeah, you could buy Bruce Willis might not be the toughest guy ever, but I thought I liked that as a character introduction with this like ex NFL guy and stuff. So no, I like that scene a lot. And then the music that they used behind it to make it all badass was that song. I want to be a cowboy, and you can be my cowboy.
Yeah, and it's entertaining, but it's not a good movie, is what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying
No, I
that.
think it's a good movie. I don't say it like that ironically or like wink wink. I think it's got a lot going for it. And I think it's really entertaining.
All right. So is she an ex cop or an ex Secret Service agent?
Ex Secret Service, I think, turned private eye. I guess after he was there's a lot. It's very confusing as far as what the hell is going on.
Because they all seem to know each other. Why would the LAPD know who the Secret Service guy was?
Well, I guess if you took a bullet for Jimmy Carter, people, cops might know who you are and stuff. But
Yeah, but they don't just know each other. They're talking to each other like they're old friends or old employees,
yeah, I don't know. Well, that's the kind of thing a lot of these old like detective movies, like the sheriff's always fucking like, now if I see you around my one more time, they always seem to know the private investigator on the case and shit.
Speaking of one-liners, the one I actually do like, it was in a Punk album, and that's why I know it so well.
Oh yeah,
but he goes just
that's Lagwagon. That's
yeah. Just once, I'd like to hear you scream. Play some rap music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love it.
Don't call it a movement. Yeah.
No. Did they play the cover of "Mama's Gonna Knock You Out"?
Yeah. No, it's called. It's not called. They don't do the straight cover of "Mama's Called Knock You Out," but they say something like that. It's something weird like that. But anyway, like I did think this one time. One thing I picked up on this time, just in the dialogue and stuff, they mentioned someone's been prank calling the senator. And then later you find out when they're looking at the number, he's like, I know what the senator's number is. It's like, I've been calling him. So Bruce Willis' character has been leaving prank phone calls to the senator. Does that seem like what I know they kind of would need to do that maybe to kind of, I don't know, but like just seemed like that was really had a character. Just thinking that, well, I guess if he gets really drunk at night and he hates this guy, he'll make prank phone calls. But I never thought of Bruce Willis' character or like a such Stallone character movie be making prank phone calls.
Well, I don't know. It establishes that this character doesn't have a good sense of humor. He's annoying and he's an asshole. That sounds like the type of person who would get drunk and make prank calls to his old rival,
Well, I guess it is actually typical thing what the guy would do, I guess.
This says the same thing. I don't know why every buddy movie has to do it, but the buddies get separated for a large portion of the second act.
A little bit, yeah. But they break them up and stuff, and then
then they have to reconcile or whatever. It's just weird. I thought the enemy lair, the main antagonist's lair at the Coliseum is so funny to me.
Oh yeah, that whole scene where Kim Koteas, who's great in that his one scene where he decks him and stuff, but he goes, there's one guy just sitting at the piano, kind of just hitting one note, bad guy in a tie, and I loved when he goes for like the cigarette and he just socks him, and then he looks up like, "Ha, baby!" And the guy at the piano just goes. I just love his little just "you demand" point.
I hope I get to a point in my life where I have a lair at a sporting arena that's south of downtown in a really bad neighborhood. That's really
Right.
hard to get to and in and out of.
I don't, yeah, and also the bad guys do that fucking cliche of like, all right, take them out and kill them. Like, like I think they did that a couple times where it's like, just just get them out of my sight and kill them. It's like, well, why don't you just shoot him in the fucking head now? Like, no, no, no. You
Well,
know,
that and he's so rich and everything. And then Bruce Willis was like, "Well, if you shoot me now, you're not going to get a hold of your like $30,000. Hold on,
Mhm.
let's hear him out. What
Oh yeah.
$30,000?"
Another point, a guy has his gun to a head of to the head of Bruce Willis, and he stops because Bruce Willis keeps telling him jokes that makes him laugh, and then Bruce Willis like shoves a fucking broken beer bottle in his throat or something. But like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that forest scene is another scene where you realize you're not in a good movie. You may be in an entertaining one, but it's not a good movie because the jokes that
I
you're
don't.
saying are horrible, and they're like, ha, 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 "Oh Jesus
Yeah.
fucking Christ! Say
Oh
another one.
shit.
Put your gun down. The guy's saying jokes."
Yeah.
God,
Shit you heard in like fifth grade and shit. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I still think it's a very entertaining movie. I think it's very rewatchable. I still get into it. So yeah, I'd rate it pretty high.
The reconciliation between him and his wife or ex-wife after she's having an
Very
affair
weird dialogue exchange.
is so forced. Like they barely spent any time together in scenes other than him discovering she's having an affair, even though they're basically
Yeah.
broken up, and getting in fights over their daughter. And then at the end, just because he had an action movie, they're like, "Let's get back together." So fucking
Like,
weird.
well, I guess that was one of like Bruce Willis's script demand changes. He wanted just less of the wife stuff because he figured he had been John McClane has saved his wife twice now in the Die Hard movies, and he just doesn't want to be the guy just having to rescue his wife or save his wife like every fucking movie. So they said that like the script, was much darker and stuff. Shane Black script. I noticed that we've said that about every single Shane Black movie that we've watched. Like Long Kiss Goodnight, Lethal Weapon. Like the original script was much darker. I don't know anymore. Like they all seem about the same tone. And if you watch movies that he wrote and directed, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or The Nice Guys, they don't seem that dark. So
Mm.
I don't know about this whole like I wasn't there to read the original scripts, but they always they were heavily rewritten. They were way darker. But then he broke another record for his script. It's like so they keep paying all this money to him and they keep changing like everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah,
How would you rate this movie?
I give it 4.5.
4.5 out of 5.
Yes.
So you said it wasn't The Godfather, but you're basically giving it a Godfather rating?
Yeah. Yeah. If it came down to like, what would you rather put? If you like, Kenny, come over, we're gonna have some beers, we're gonna watch Godfather 2 or Last Boy Scout. I'm coming over for Last Boy Scout. I'll watch Godfather Part 2 on Thanksgiving sometime.
Yeah, the boys like to get drunk and watch Godfather Part 2.
Yeah.
I will also say that Damon Williams is not good in this. He's not funny. He has some
I'm not a
chemistry
big,
with Bruce
I'm
Willis,
not a
but
big David Wayne fan anyway. So,
he added nothing to this movie.
oh,
Like,
I would say that nothing. I think he was kind of,
what
his
did he
character.
add?
He's kind of likable in this movie. I think he's kind of, he's a fun kind of bounce off for Bruce Willis. I think he makes Bruce Willis kind of lighten up a little bit. I don't think he's bad in this movie. I just don't think he's that funny. I'm not just not a big Damon Wayans fan in general.
I would give this as a movie 2.5 out of 5. As a buddy action comedy, 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest leaps, from actual movie to
Oh, for
buddy
you?
action comedy.
I don't bother with the as a buddy movie, as a comedy, as an action. I'm giving it like 3 different ratings.
Kenny,
No,
Kenny,
for the birds.
Kenny.
Yeah.
I won't bother with it at all either. If I didn't have to do this stupid fucking podcast with you.
No one's twisting your arm, man. Like,
Yeah,
I thought we
right.
were doing it for the love of it that we like to do these things.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
All right.
No one's texting you once a week saying, "Hey, get it back out here." No one's saying, "What the fuck are we doing? Hurry up!"
Great.
Mhm.
So what are we doing next? Let's just face it, next month.
Next month, yeah, we're doing 2025. Well,
You picked this one, right?
yeah, I picked this one. Since your pick, you got carte
All
blanche.
right, let's see. You hate Damon Wayans. Sorry. Yeah, we'll do Bulletproof next.
Bulletproof, sweet, sounds good. I've been wanting to talk for a while.
And of course, before we go, I know a lot of people were curious. I know we've talked about it extensively.
Israeli, Palestine.
Yeah, Israeli Palestine. But it's too big of a macro thing. So I just want to know what you think, which party sent those missiles that hit that hospital.
Well, I think Iran